Welcome into Around the Felt Sports. We're breaking down all of NFL Week 4. My name's Reagan. I'm here with my co-host, Colin. We're going to get into all the nitty-gritties, talk some fantasy football, talk about all these teams. We are recording on a Monday night, so I will say we're not going to get into the Jets-Dolphins or the Bengals-Broncos. We'll just highlight the other 14 games. But, Colin, what's up, man? What does a day in the life look like for you today?
You know, it was a very weird feeling because I'm not used to victory Mondays for my New York Football Giants, but it's at what cost? Losing Malik Nabers for the season is just heartbreaking. It's like the football gods give and they take. So it was a weird feeling today. I wanted to be really happy on a victory Monday, but, because the last victory Monday was after we got out of the first overall pick, so it wasn't necessarily ideal. And in this time, it's like, shit, we lost Nabers. So, definitely a weird feeling today, but it was a great slate of games this weekend, and I'm excited to dive into all things NFL Week 4.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude, for sure. And our buddy Caleb's actually working the Jets-Dolphins game tonight down in Miami, so
let's go.
He just sent me some cool photos and stuff. Assuming he gives us permission, I'm going to probably throw him up right on the field, so we need a Jets win because I'd like to have some Victory Tuesday with you. Although as a Jet fan, it does, in a sense, feel like Victory Monday, man. We didn't have to play. It was nice. It was nice yesterday, not just getting to watch Red Zone and, not have to worry about your team. Very nice. But, yeah, I feel your pain, man, at what cost with the neighbors shit.
I know, it sucks. I mean, as of right now, we got 45 minutes till kickoff for your Jets, and I'm very, very optimistic for the Jets tonight. I didn't take them. I was going to, but I'm going to just stay away and watch as a fan because I got a lot of fantasy implications on the line with Dolphins players and Jets players. So we're going to enjoy that as a fan and for fantasy football. But I'm feeling good about your Jets tonight, man. I think they get it done.
I hope so. Otherwise, whatever. We tank.
All right. Yeah, 0-4 is tough. I mean, it's almost think a tank, But they win today. Yeah. They're right in it. So let's get into a little bit of news here, and then we'll touch on questions that we have, our records throughout the week, and how we did in the Felt 5. It was a pretty good week for the fellas. Unfortunately, we got to start with the unfortunate news that Malik Nabers has torn his ACL. MetLife Stadium just gets another one with a lower leg injury, and it's extremely unfortunate, especially when you consider that it was Jackson Dart's first start. They get the win. Dart looks promising, but now for the rest of the season, you have to look at Dart in a lens without his clear-cut best player on offense, which is insanely unfortunate. Obviously, for fantasy football, if you took Nabers, it was in the first round most likely. So just a devastating blow in that regard as well. I'm obviously insanely heartbroken. Reagan, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, you said it before, like you win it, but at what cost? It's brutal. I mean, I know a lot of people I know within the Giants community were comparing it to what happened with Odell back in the day. Just star wide receiver goes down. You hate to see it for the player, and then you also think, like, will he come back the same? I mean, this is a guy that we were talking about, like, can he be pushing into that top 5 range in year 2, maybe even top 3? And now it's like, at what point does he come back next year, and at what level, So it's very unfortunate. And then for the Giants offense, I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough for Jackson Dart because now you're throwing to the likes of Wan'Dale Robinson, Theo Johnson, Darius Slayton. I mean, that is now by far the worst receiving core in the league. And even Tyrone Tracy's out as well. Not like Scadabo's not better, but that's still another guy you're without as well. So this Giants offense is going to struggle to put up a lot of production. And I think teams are really going to be like, all right, let's stack the box. We'll let Jackson Dart beat us with these wide receiver weapons because Scadabo right now is really about the only weapon on that offense outside of, obviously Nabers that's showing any juice. So I think teams are going to now be like, hey, we'll stack the box. We'll take him out. We'll let Jackson Dart beat us with, this cast of misfits in the wide receiver room and tight end room.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, man. You could certainly make the argument on paper it's the worst receiving core in football as it stands without Malik Nabers.
No, I think it is. I don't even think it is an argument at this point.
I don't even, because every team's got a number 1 that's probably better.
Unless Garrett Wilson goes down for the Jets, then it becomes an argument. But
then it becomes an argument, right? Like I don't know. You're absolutely right there, and it sucks. I will say Wan'Dale, I mean, I don't know how much stock to put in that week 2 game against Dallas because we've seen them get lit up by every team they've played, right? We've seen Wan'Dale be good in the past, but in more of a, receptions-based role, like not big after the catch, not really going to take the top off of defense. So they're going to miss that. I'm seeing a lot of Giants fans hoping for OBJ to return to blue now, that they need some help at wide receiver. So that'd be interesting. Obviously, not even close to Malik Nabers. But, yeah, it's going to be really tough for Jackson Dart. But the silver lining is, hey, if Dart does show you he's that guy and he did it all year without Nabers, you got to feel really confident heading into 2026. But,
that is true. That is
also
very true.
With Nabers, he is 22 years old, and it happened in September. So hopefully he's ready for 26. So I'm just trying to find some positives here.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as long as Jackson Dart's playing, that's the only thing. If Dart is to get benched at some point in the season, if it starts to go downhill or suffer some injuries and stuff, where they're like, is it even worth risking his future? It could be some really ugly games to watch for the Giants, because right now, the two biggest things you have to look forward to right now are Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo on that offense. Everybody else is kind of like whatever.
Yeah, moving on here. Joe Alt suffers a high ankle sprain. This was early on in the game, and obviously the Chargers suffered the consequences because their offensive line got dog walked all day. I think Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Abdul Carter combined for like 20 pressures against that offensive line without Joe Alt. Of course, Rashawn Slater's already out for the season. It's a confirmed high ankle sprain for Alt, going to miss several weeks. For a Chargers team that the strength of their team outside of Herbert was that offensive line, they really got a lot of holes now.
Yeah, that they do. I mean, Herbert is really going to have to prove himself, and or I don't mean to like that prove himself. Like, obviously we know he is, but Herbert's going to now have to, prove why he can become an MVP type player in this league. I mean, it's all there for that MVP future. The script's writing itself, but it's going to be tough. I mean, the one thing I'll say too, like at least Hampton is really coming into his own.
Yeah.
But we'll see though, because now that you're taking out their top 2 tackles, I mean, I know Alt's gonna miss some time. He's not out for the year. But you just don't know when. And the nice thing is too, they built themselves this nice 3-1 cushion to start the year. But then again, the Chiefs are 2-2, so it's like, wow, like we were feeling really good, and then they were coming in the last week like, we're feeling really good. We should go kill the Giants, get to 4-0. And the Chiefs are in a toss-up game where it's like they may fall to 1-3 and be in a really good spot. Now, the worst-case scenario has happened, that they choke to the Giants on the road and the Chiefs go and destroy the Ravens. And it's like, great. We're 4 weeks in and now we're only back up 1 game on Kansas City, even with them struggling out of the gate. So it's like, that's why you never can count out the Chiefs. Not trying to change the subject, but I think the Chargers will be fine. But
definitely hurts our prediction. I mean, my prediction for the Chargers to win this division. You all protector of the year, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yes,
yeah, that hurts. Herbert MVP, that hurts. Harbaugh coach of the year. It all hurts for us. So we're not happy on this podcast.
Actually, Herbert MVP, it could help in a sense, because if he can ball out with those factors, that he doesn't have his top 2 tackles, and you see guys like Lamar and Allen with healthy lines putting up similar stats. I mean, I think that could be definitely a differentiator coming down the stretch.
That's true. Speaking of Lamar, he's got a bit of a hamstring problem. Left the game against the Chiefs, did not go back in. Some people were speculating did he quit on his team? Like, what's going on here? Is he actually hurt? Like, there's no trainers around him. Harbaugh today was like, no, that's not the case. Lamar Jackson would be in there if he could play. He could not play, which in turn makes his availability for week 5 uncertain. And for a Ravens team already sitting at 1-3, I will acknowledge it's been a gauntlet of a schedule to start the season, but obviously with Lamar Jackson battling a hamstring injury, awful news for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, it is awful news, dude. Like I don't really know how long he'll miss. You would think it's going to be less than he probably could have if they were in a better spot, but falling to 1-3, I mean, I know you didn't expect that.
No, not at all.
Didn't expect it, but I knew it was a possibility. I mean, you played Buffalo, Detroit, and Kansas City, 3 of your first 4 games. So that was always a possibility. I mean, those are 3 juggernauts in the league. So it's not like they lost to any bums. Like, that's the one thing you can hang your hat on. The only thing that sucks is, you're playing Houston, who's a former playoff team last year. Like, granted, I don't think they're nearly as good, but they will have some confidence coming into that game, coming off of their first win and a big win against Tennessee. So that's not the most ideal draw if you can't go with Lamar. It's tough, though. I mean, right now the line's definitely reflecting that Lamar's not playing with them at 3.5-point favorites. So if you think Lamar's going to play, you might want to hop on that line now.
Yeah, and another thing with the Ravens, Madubuike, the last piece of our news, their former All-Pro defensive tackles out for the season with a neck injury. And the major problem for Baltimore has not been their offense. They're the third highest scoring offense in football. They have allowed the most points in the league. So their defense is a major concern. Also, Marlon Humphrey left the game. So for that side of the ball that looks so talented on paper, particularly on the back end, to now be reeling with all these injuries, not an ideal setup for the Baltimore Ravens, man. A team that I predicted have the most wins in the league this year. So I'm not happy with it. But for fantasy football, at least you know if you got Ravens or your guys are going against the Ravens, it's going to be a shootout. That's what we've seen for the past month.
Yeah, I would. I mean, it depends, though, because, like the Browns really didn't do much when they played them. I think they're more like
well, that's a team that was picking.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, yes, their defense has struggled, but to sit here and act like they haven't played like 3 top 10 offenses that have gone off against them.
That is true,
so
but
let's
also
more
acknowledge
of a middle ground.
But
where,
their defense was also cheeks last year.
It was,
but
like,
right? So
I'm not going to sit here and act like the Texans are going to come and light them up, a team that's offense has looked very bad outside of last week, and they beat, the Titans, who have a terrible offense that can't support their defense anyway. So I'm going to say next week, like, I think the Ravens defense will bounce back, and regress to the mean. Like, they may hold the Texans to 20 points, where it's like, yeah, the Texans are starting to figure out things on offense, but they're not going to come up and put 40 points on that defense like these other teams, because they're not nearly as legit.
I don't know, unless Woody Marks is the truth, like his stats.
That's what I was saying, man. I've been saying it. I hope people have been listening to me on this podcast. I've been beating the Woody Marks drum. I've been saying it for a couple weeks now, and now it seems like, speaking of him, that he is fully taking over that backfield. I mean, granted, they were still both heavily involved, but you got to look at who did what with the work they were given.
And
he was 17 of 69 with the touchdown versus Chubb's 13 of 47, and he had 4 of 50 in the receiving game with the touchdown. So he was involved more as the pass catcher as well. And then their GM came out today and said there's no timetable for Joe Mixon to come back yet. So I'm treating it as Joe Mixon is going to be out for the whole season, and it's going to be Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. And to me, and I think most NFL fans out there, Nick Chubb does not have that much juice left in the tank. He looks like a guy that's dealt with some major knee injuries, and that is also, on the wrong side of his 20s. He actually might be in his early 30s for all I know at this point. But what I do know is Woody Marks looks great, and I think he'll continue to carve out more and more of a role. And even if it's like 65 or 70% of the role, that's great. If he's still on your waivers, which he probably is at this point, to me, he's like a half your FAAB budget and redraft type of budget. Like, you want to spend at least half your FAAB on him, because you're not going to find many starting running backs at this point unless they get injured. But I think most handcuffs are picked up. So I would say spend half your FAAB. Definitely burn your number one priority claim on him.
Yeah, and he had 57% of the snap share. That number is only going to climb after that performance for sure. You want to go with the young buck, the fresh legs. I picked him up last week in one of my redraft leagues where I desperately need running back help. And now he's my RB3, and I'm feeling pretty damn good about it. So,
yeah,
and we're ahead of the game here.
About that. Yeah. And
all right,
Dynasty,
that's all.
That's why. Oh, no, I was just going to say, in Dynasty, that's why I say, like, these running backs where they had some success in college, throw them on your taxi spot. I have them on my taxi spot in a Dynasty league. I've already activated them to my active roster, because now it's like, oh, shit, like, I can actually play this guy. Versus where I was like, I like the tape there, but it's like, oh, Joe Mixon's there. And then they ended up signing Nick Chubb. So I'm like, all right, he's going to be the third guy there. Like, whatever. Like, the talent's there. I'll throw him on the taxi spot. But this is why we say you got to be making sure you're utilizing your taxi spots in these Dynasty leagues.
Have to.
So
I mean, I had Scatabo, not that, he's some crazy dark horse guy, but he was on my taxi spot. And it's like, I didn't think by week 3 he'd be the starting back and having this big of a share. Yeah, I burned a taxi slot, but I'm like, I got a running back. I can play at flex right now or at RB2. Yeah. And it's the same thing with Woody Marks. It's a good
problem to have. To have to burn your taxi spot and pull them off is a good problem to have.
It means you were smart and you filled your taxi spot and you were right with your analysis on the player. Like, honestly, it's a tip of the cap. Like, pat yourself on the back move. Not, oh, shit, I burned a taxi. You know what I mean?
Of course. So let's move on to the questions.
Yeah. Let's go to questions.
So Dave, Mr. Drox Locks, had a good week with his hitting his lock, and then he went 4 or 5 on the Felt 5, only missing his 1 unit play. So Dave has been Locked in,
Yeah, he's
some
been
would
doing
say.
well. Been
So
doing
he
well.
wants to know, is T. Higgins worth trading 2 second-rounders for?
Man, that's tough because it's like, I mean, this is, of course, Dynasty, and it's like I don't want to give up on
Yeah.
T. Higgins, the talent, because with Joe Burrow back next year, like he could be back in that 12 to 16 range, and you're feeling really good about that. And I think that's worth more than 2 seconds. For a team like you, Dave, where I know what league you're talking about, your team is ass, so I would not trade him for 2 second-rounders, despite the injury to Joe Burrow. I just don't think it's worth it at this time.
Yeah, you'd probably be selling low unless you're talking about a different league where you can acquire him for that. I would love to acquire him for 2 second-rounders because like you said, I agree that I don't think you're gonna have to hit on a lottery ticket there. Like I honestly don't view second-round picks nearly as valuable as I do like the talent of T. Higgins. The money's there. It's not like he's been injured. And he can still have success with Jake Browning. Like, let's not just like panic after one bad start where everything that possibly could have gone wrong against Minnesota went wrong. Like, I think he'll figure it out. Like, we're recording this right now, but I'm sure tonight he's going to have a huge game because Jamar Chase is going to be shut out by Pat Surtain. So I think T. Higgins is going to feast tonight when you're listening to this tomorrow on Tuesday morning. All right, his next one, stocks lock. He meant to say Drox lock, but he said stocks lock. So he goes, Drox lock and big dogs cashing this week. Yeah, it did cash. That was huge.
Let's go, baby! I was so due. And Drock, you've been cooking with your picks. I'm glad we got another Drox lock win. It was a great week for the boys, man. Great week for the boys.
And you know what I'll say with the Drox locks? It's almost like, hey, don't do Giants picks and you'll actually give out some winning locks. Like, go back to like vintage year one Drock and like they actually hit instead of we going with Danny Dimes anytime rushing touchdown.
Oh, he could have went Jackson Dart. It would have been a juicy, crazy play.
That's true. If he did go the homer pick, he would have actually benefited him this week.
He probably would have went Scadaboo, though. You know, I'm just guessing because he's on his fantasy team. So
yeah.
Scadaboo got tackled the one twice.
Yeah. All right, let's shift over to Garrett. His first question is, how do you view David Montgomery? Is he a player that you still have to start every week at the flex? To me, yeah. I mean, you saw what he did the week prior against Baltimore. Like, yeah, he didn't have the best of weeks against Cleveland this week. I think he only had like 2 or 3 points in fantasy. But did you not see what he did against Baltimore on Monday Night Football? I mean, he was having big runs, gashing them. I mean, he had a 70-yard run where he got hawked down, but then he had another like 30-something yard touchdown. So he still got juice. He's still heavily involved. I just think at the end of the day, like, he's the poor man's Derrick Henry in a timeshare where there's going to be weeks where he's going to get scripted out because he's not involved in the passing game. And there's going to be weeks where he's not as efficient. But if the touchdown upside's always there, so as long as the touchdown upside's there and the offense is humming, you got to start him because any week he can go for 2 to 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree, man. I mean, obviously 9 carries for 12 and doing nothing in the receiving game is. But I knew this was a matchup because the Browns defense has been playing well for a lot of the season. And there's one thing to be said about the Browns defense and the rest. It's not the same. You know, it's game script for just get anything roll. It's 1 week, I'm panicking. But yeah, definitely confident with Montgomery in my flex spot. I don't think it's an every week type of thing. If you have the options, you can go with the has a better. But I want Montgomery in that spot.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next question. How much does Genty's monster game impact offensive rookie? Let me start that again. How much does Genty's monster game impact offensive rookie of the year odds? Hampton, Dart, Ibuka, all looked great. How do you see that race playing out?
Well, Genty was the favorite coming into the season, and that was the Genty that we were expecting to see for most of the year. Obviously, the Raiders' offensive line has not really helped him out a ton. He still had a ton of his production after contact, which is not ideal, but I'd expect the odds makers to adjust the lines, and Genty might be the favorite again. Obviously, Jackson Dart getting a win in his first start. I know we looked at the odds last week, and we were like, well, you would not take that because, I mean, plus 750 for a guy that hasn't played a game yet is pretty tough to take. I know Ibuka's been very hot to start the season. I'm sure he's going to be right up in there in the mix. But, yeah, I'd expect Genty to be the favorite once again, and that should be the Genty we should expect to see the rest of the season as long as the Raiders' offensive line holds up and gives them some daylight.
Yeah, I have the odds here. It's Ibuka at plus 250, Genty at plus 320, Hampton at plus 500, then Dart at plus 55, and then Tyler Warren at plus 850, who's been cooking as well. And then we get to Ted at plus 1,500, Judkins at plus 1,600, and then like Ward is plus 2,200, and then the rest are 25-1 and higher. I actually like Judkins a lot. I think that is an incredible value at 16-1 with how he's looked the past 2 weeks. I think for the production he's putting up to get a 16-1 ticket versus some of the other guys, like to sit here and act like Genty and Hampton look that much better than him when they're all getting the same amount of work and they're all not in the best. Well, I guess Hampton's in a great situation, but to me, Genty is in the same exact situation as Judkins. So I'll take the guy that I can get 16-1 versus that plus 320. So I think I will sprinkle Judkins, honestly. I think that's incredible value. Out of the 4 guys you listed, I lean Dart because he's a quarterback. And I think now the more success he can have will be even more impressive due to the fact that they lost Nabers. But let's move on to his final question. When will Woody Johnson and John Mara finally agree to change the MetLife turf? How many more star players need to get hurt before we see a change? I just want to say this quick. I think that whole thing is blown out of proportion. The only reason it seems like the MetLife turf is way worse than other turfs is because there's a home game there every single week. So it just seems like it happens more often because there's double the games there. You know what I mean? Like everyone acts like the MetLife turf is bad, but it's just turf in general. It's not the MetLife turf specifically. I mean, I guess maybe SoFi we don't see as much, but between those 2 stadiums, they're playing 16 to 17 games a year, where the other ones are playing 8 to 9. So that would be my biggest reason why it seems more evident there.
It's a good point, but I will say, I mean, do you see Odell Beckham Jr.'s tweet? He called it death life. He's like, please change the turf. Like, we talk about player safety, this and that, and this is the one thing that you can't get right. The one thing I will say is just from a Giants perspective under that microscope is, since 2018, you saw Odell Beckham Jr. go down, Saquon Barkley go down, Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Nabers now. It's like all the star skill position players for the Giants have done something major to their lower legs, which is a major problem. And that's just one team and the skill position players that are cutting like that. So, I mean, maybe there is a problem. The thing is, like, I would love if every stadium had grass. Like, personally, I love playing on grass more so than turf. I know you're faster on turf, but it's significantly more forgiving getting tackled and cutting on grass compared to turf. So I understand it. It's just logistically, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off because, like you said, there's a game there every Sunday, and you see how some of these other stadiums look with the grass towards the end of the year with just one team. So that's kind of the problem, was that they'd have to fix it a couple times throughout the season, which, let's be honest, they're fucking billionaires. They could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could be, that's probably a big reason why they have turf too, is because of that. That's actually definitely the reason why there's turf there, is just because there's 2 teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all we have for the questions. Kind of light today, but that's okay. We're getting into the nitty gritties, but I'm curious how, let us know in the comments at this point. How you doing in fantasy football so far? Are you 4-0 in your leagues? If you're listening to us, you better not be 0-4. Otherwise you better be tuning in for the first time so we can get you back right, because bye weeks are coming up, and this is a time where it's going to get, questionable for teams. And one thing I'll say too is, if you're not super in the fantasy football or you're like starting to get into it, don't worry about bye weeks in the sense of like, oh, I can't trade X player because I need him for when this guy has a bye week. Like, always go for the value. Like, don't be holding on to a second quarterback because, Patrick Mahomes has a week 10 bye, so you can't trade, maybe in this case you have Caleb Williams as your second quarterback. Well, I can't trade Caleb Williams because I need him for 1 week in week 10. Like, if the value's right on the trade you're getting offered, like, don't hold on the players because of that factor.
Good point.
But let's move into the games.
Yeah, before we get to the games here, just to update you on the records this week. Reagan went 8-6 against the spread. I went 7-7. And we both went 7-6-1 on the money line. Obviously, that tie is just going to be annoying to look at all year because the Packers played for a tie, and they 40-40 scorigami. So, yeah, we're going to have that tie for the rest of the season. In terms of the Felt 5, it was a pretty damn good week for the crew outside of Reagan. I'm sorry. You went big game hunting this week.
I did a little bit too much there. It's all right.
You hit unworthy. So you went down 8 units on the week, but that's really what you're down on the season, 7.5 roughly. I went up over 11 on the week with Dart as my 5-unit play. We still have Garrett with Achan tonight, but he's up 4 units, so he's doing well. And then Zach and Dave up 13 units each. So both of them cooked this week. The Felt 5, man. If you followed every pick, you'd be up quite a bit of dough this year. I'm just saying. Now, most of that's Dave and Zach. Dave and
I
Zach
hope you're
mostly.
Yeah, dude. Well, Dave especially. I think Dave's up 20 units.
Dave's up 20 units on the season. Yeah. I
That's
wonder
what
if
I'm
Dave's
saying,
taken
so.
all of his plays and laddered them, because if he did, he'd be fucking chilling right now, you know?
Yeah. Now that's Dave. You are figuring it out, brother. You are figuring it out.
Good
Wow.
for you, Dave. Maybe you have a little bit more respect for yourself and your picks, because you're doing a good job. You don't have to give credit to anyone else or any other platforms for the picks that you come up with. You're doing a great job, buddy. All right, let's get into these games here. We're going to start with Thursday night. The Seahawks took care of business, a Cardinals team, and almost came back to get the dub, 23-20 here in this one. And of course, this was the big bet of the week. If you saw on social media, we went to the Yankees game Friday night. Reagan was in the banana costume. He had many other Yankees fans and patrons just dying laughing, wanting to take selfies with the banana man himself. I thought it was one of the best punishments we ever did, because none of us had to throw up. It wasn't painful, which is very funny. And you know what? We got to see you on TV as well when Stanton was rounding third when he hit his home run.
That is true. Yeah, that is true. Shout out Jack Memoli. One of my buddies sent it in, and you could just see the yellow blip in the crowd. Pretty funny to see that.
The banana man. That was great.
Banana man did make it.
Seattle moves to 3-1. Arizona 2-2. Darnold was pretty good in this one, 242 and a touchdown. Walker looked pretty efficient, much better than Charbonnet did in this one. Still trying to figure out how that backfield's going to shake out. It seems like Walker kind of retook the backfield there. JSN, not the craziest game from JSN. We'll get in that debate. But he had 4 for 79. On the Cardinals side, Murray threw 2 picks. You know, one of them Marv dropped. The other one kind of double coverage. People were bashing Marv for stopping his route, but I think it was a dumb throw from Murray. Still threw for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Benson, not super efficient as the lead back, but it's still early. Marv did bounce back from a couple early drops, 66 and a touchdown here. Your thoughts on this game, Reagan? I know you want to touch on the Walker versus Charbonnet debate.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on this game is that Seattle defense is legit. Arizona's offense is very questionable. I do like Arizona's defense a lot. Honestly, I think they played pretty tough for, the talent they have there. When it comes to the Seattle side of things, I mean, Darnold hasn't been like lighting the world on fire, but he's definitely looking still like that Minnesota Sam Darnold. When it comes to the backfield debate, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, who do you favor more right now?
I like Walker better, man. I think he runs with more juice. I really am just a fan of Kenneth Walker. I don't think Charbonnet's like that good, but like there will be some weeks where he just goes nuclear and it's like, all right, maybe this guy is good. But I don't know, man. I prefer Walker, but I think they're just going to ride with the hot hand, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I said to stay away from this backfield completely, because I don't, or more so Walker, because where he was going as a guy that like would be getting the lion's share, but they're both involved. I mean, Walker's got 58 carries on the year. Charbonnet has 39, but obviously he missed the game. So it's been pretty 50-50. It seems a little staggered right now because Walker got the one game without him. And, any game that you can get one of the two, which ideally you probably don't have both guys, but any game you get one of those two is going to be a great week. And you can honestly view the guy as a top 10 fantasy running back. It's just they hurt each other more so than anything else.
It's Reagan, on that point, it's funny you said that, because Luke, our guy on Octagon, literally put in our group chat this week, he's like, I fucking hate that I have Walker and Charbonnet, because Walker will get all the way down there and then Charbonnet scores the touchdown and like one's always on my bench and I'm starting the other one and I'm like, I don't know which one to go with. This sucks.
Yeah, I would say just like pick one and trade the other. It's like not actually worth having them both. I mean, I guess you could really play them both. Like this week, they both actually. I don't know. Like this week, they were both relevant. I mean, Charbonnet has the touchdown, so he gets over in the double digits, and Kenneth Walker has over 100 all-purpose yards, so he gets in the double digits. Like, yeah, it's not the prettiest, but they're both like in the low teens. Like, if you had them both in your flexes, like that's not the worst week.
True.
But we can move on. I mean, I don't have much left to say. Like, honestly, this game should have been a blowout. Like, Cardinals were lucky to even have it this close. Like, that 3-point loss doesn't really show this full game. Like, Seattle dominated it for the majority of the game.
That is very true, And you know what? It got very dicey at the end for the big bet, because there was a chance Arizona was going to go for 2 at the end, which would have almost sealed you as covering the 1.5. But unfortunately for me, That did not happen. And Seattle got the
not.
field goal. We were good. All right, let's move on to the game in Dublin. Sunday morning, the Steelers take care of the Vikings 24-21. Another game that wasn't necessarily as close as the score would indicate. Steelers moved to 3-1, Minnesota 2-2. You know, for Rodgers, just stupid efficient, 18-22, 200 yards, a touchdown. Of course, when DK Metcalf houses that from 80, that helps your stat line quite a bit because no one else really did much outside of Metcalf's 126 and a touchdown through the air. You got to tip the cap to Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah,
19 for 99 and 2 touchdowns, also helping out through the air with 6 receptions. So monster day from Gainwell. Not that anyone was drafting Kenneth Gainwell, but if you're a Caleb Johnson fantasy holder, woof, man, woof.
Yeah, because it was like, oh, wow, like Warren's out, he'll get a chance. Like Caleb Johnson now is droppable to me. I mean, not in Dynasty, but in redraft, you can drop him.
I already know people that's dropped him.
You know, in Dynasty, you don't want to because I still think that, you know, the talent's there. But yeah, I mean, and I don't think a lot of people would have played Gainwell either with the, you know, Jalen Warren. They said it sounded like he was going to play on Saturday night, and then they ruled him out like early on Sunday because the game was in London, so 9:30 here on the East Coast. And, you know, if you're on the West Coast and, you know, getting ruled out at 4:30, you probably pivoted elsewhere, but you weren't going to throw Gainwell in. So I think a lot of people ended up leaving Gainwell on the bench, not knowing like what the share would look like. Even in the share, it's like, do I really want Kenneth Gainwell against the Vikings? Like the matchup didn't sound that juicy.
No,
but
not at all,
in
man.
the end run, it ended up working out really good for Kenneth Gainwell.
That is true. On the Vikings side, Wentz threw for 350. Obviously, a lot of that was playing catch up. Threw 2 bad picks. Had 2 touchdowns. You know, Jefferson really got cooking early. Caught his first 8 targets. Still went for 126. Addison went for 114 in his first game back. You know, but unfortunately for Minnesota, it was too little too late in their late comeback effort. I still don't hate the Vikings for the remainder of the season, you know, sitting at 2-2. Obviously got blown out. I mean, I'm sorry, they blew out Cincinnati last week, but what really is Cincinnati? And then you lose a tough game to a team like Pittsburgh overseas. You know, hopefully McCarthy's back next week because it seems like they need him. Not that Wentz has been god-awful, but I don't know, man. I'm still slightly concerned with this Minnesota offense, even when they had McCarthy in the lineup.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not something excites me. I mean, Jefferson at least played well, but, you know, and Jordan Mason, you're going to play him. But, you know, it definitely doesn't look like this offense is as dominant and clicking on all cylinders like it was last year with Sam Darnold. So maybe Darnold's better than a lot of people gave him credit for. But we'll also see, too. I mean, Addison's back now. You saw he had the big play. I mean, it was a broken play, but I think that will start to open up more stuff, having him and Jefferson, you know, and then adding Thielen and Naylor in the mix. I mean, they still do got a lot of guys, so we'll give it some time. But I think the Wentz experience hopefully is over soon. I want to see J.J. McCarthy.
As do I. Moving on here, the Giants get their first win of the season. Let's go, Big Blue. 21-18 over the Chargers. It wasn't sexy, but they got the job done. Jackson Dart did what he had to do. He took care of the football, no turnovers, only threw for 111 yards and a touchdown on 20 attempts, but really made some plays with his legs with the rushing touchdown, 54 rushing. Scatterbo, 25 carries is pretty crazy. It was pretty obvious once Nabers went down. They didn't want to put Dart in harm's way, and they really focused on running the ball, protecting that lead, and letting that pass rush take over, which they did. Thibodeau with a sack. Brian Burns with another sack, who's got like 5.5 now. He looks like a different player this year. And Abdul Carter, without a sack, was the best of the 3 with 4 quarterback hits, which leads the league in week 4. We still got 2 games to go. And 9 pressures. Just an absolute phenomenal game. And Dexter Lawrence, big man, sexy Dexy, almost had a pick 6 as well. So the defense took care of business. For the Chargers, obviously, we touched on it earlier, no Joe Alt made things very difficult for that front. And then in turn, Justin Herbert, who threw 2 picks. Amarian Hampton did have that 54-yard touchdown. I mean, he also had a run where he just dragged Giants defenders for like 20 yards. So he looks like he's settled in and he's got it. And if you have Amarian Hampton in fantasy, you must be very pleased with the last 2 weeks. And of course, Quentin Johnston, another monster game, 8 for 98 and a touchdown. You got to start him now, right? It's been 4 weeks. It's not like, all right, you know, you got to start Quentin Johnston now in fantasy. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, yeah, you definitely have to start Quentin Johnston in fantasy. He's the number one. My thoughts also are we were completely correct on Lad McConkey and the fact that you should stay away from him because we
Do
had
not
a feeling
draft.
that
Yeah.
he would not return on that, early second, late, early to mid second round pick. Even if he cooks the next couple weeks, I still don't think he'll be consistent enough to return on that. He's not going to end up as a top 12 fantasy wide receiver. On the Giants side of things, it was good to see Jackson Dart there. I mean, I would say if Slayton or Robinson are in, well, probably not Robinson, he's not, but if Slayton's on your waiver wire, like he's a must pick up now because there's going to be a lot of targets opening up. Theo Johnson becomes more interesting too to me that you could throw a dart throw on him, no pun intended. And for O'Marion Hampton, it seems like he's figuring it out. Like I hate to say, because you hate seeing players go down, but it seems like Najee Harris going down has been really good for him because as soon as Najee went down, he was cooking in that second half against Denver, and now he brought it into another week of having a big game against the Giants. So I think he could end up being really good and winning some teams some fantasy championships this year if you did end up getting the value on the third, fourth round.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I know we touched on that game a lot earlier with the Nabers injury, so we won't spend too much time on it. We'll move on to the Atlanta Falcons, a good bounce back after getting just their asses kicked by Carolina, improving to 2-2 with a 34-27 win over the Commanders, who drop to 2-2. Obviously, no Jaden Daniels for the Commanders. They still hung 27 points on this Falcons defense, which is starting to become a concern for me. Absolutely. Mariota was pretty good, only threw for 156, 2 touchdowns. Of course, it was Rodriguez, Bill getting involved with 7 carries each. McNichols, though, only 2 carries. So still very difficult to figure out what their plan is for this backfield. Probably
and
similar
Debo's
to
involved as well,
Yeah, Debo is absolutely involved as well with 3 carries. So it's almost like Seattle, like instead of 2 guys, they got 4, and they're going to ride the hot hand. So very interesting. Obviously,
I
with
don't think you could play any of them.
I don't think you can either. I mean, I got Bill on the bench. You can't really play any of them. You
Like
can
Bill's
play.
still on the roster because the upside's the highest there, but you really can't play any of them. And if you do, like it's your last flex, you're putting them in, and you're like, damn, he's a bye week fill-in, or I'm just so injury riddled. And it's like, hopefully, the talent takes over, but not ideal.
Not ideal for now. Who you should be starting every week is Debo Samuel, another 6 for 72 and a touchdown. I know no Terry McLaurin for Washington, but Debo has been everything Commanders fans could have hoped for at this point. For the Falcons, it was nice to see Penix have a bounce back. I know we had a question last week, would you start Penix? And I'm like, you know what? You got to keep him on the bench for right now and see what he's got. He threw for 312, 2 touchdowns and a pick. That'll get the job done. Bijan was, yeah, he was really the engine here. 17 for 75 and a touchdown, also adding 106 on 4 receptions, looking like he should have been potentially the number 1 overall pick in redraft leagues the way he's been playing recently. Great to see Drake London finally have a monster game with Penix, 8 for 110 and a touchdown. Also, shout out Tyler Algier getting 16 carries, 1 less than Bijan, 51 yards and a touchdown. Not quite as efficient, but still a pretty solid game from him.
Well, and that's nice too because he's, at this point, he's kind of flexible, like another guy where like there's going to be bye weeks. Like, if you are the Bijan owner and you didn't handcuff him and, maybe you picked him up in some leagues or draft him in leagues being like, yeah, if Bijan misses times, like this is a smash hit. But he's a guy you can actually kind of play. Like he's been pretty solid and they want to use him. They don't want to kill Bijan. And it was pretty evident in this game, like where they're in control, like, hey, let's not kill Bijan because we team that has hopefully playoff aspirations this year.
You're absolutely right there. Absolutely right. I mean, I'm pretty happy with this Falcons offense. Got a lot of concerns about the defense, man. I don't know if I think they still need a lot of juice on the edge, man. I mean, relying on 2 rookies is not ideal. I mean, at least Xavier Watts had another INT, so that's pretty exciting. The back end of the defense, I think they found a gem there, but they definitely got some problems if Mariota's hanging 27 after Carolina blew the brakes off of you.
Yeah, and that they did. They did blow the brakes off of him. And then, when we get into that game, it's a weird league. It's a weird league.
Any given Sunday. Well, how about we go to the Bills, Saints. Bills take care of business 31-19. It was close, though. Any given Sunday, initially. They're 4-0. Saints 0-4. Spencer Rattler, poor guy, is now 0-10 as a starter in the league. Not that a lot of that is his fault.
I think it was his birthday too, or something like that.
Poor guy, you know. I mean, at least he fumbled. They didn't lose it. He didn't throw any picks. He didn't turn the ball over. But, you know, he only threw for 126 and a touchdown. I know Chris Olave threw the pick. I don't know. I wasn't watching. I didn't see what the hell happened there, but Olave throwing a pick is not ideal for me in fantasy. And I started him. You know, he did catch a touchdown, so that was nice, but the Saints really couldn't get much going. Kamara, 70 on the ground. That's kind of the best that they had. For the Buffalo Bills, I mean, Allen did throw a pick, but he got back in the end zone on the ground, so that really helped for fantasy purposes with 45. Of course, James Cook scored. Big Dogs Parlay, shout out James Cook. 22 for 117. I mean, kind of saw that game script coming against the Saints. And then Khalil Shakir, touchdown, and Dalton Kincaid keeps up his strong start to the season. Although only one catch, it was a 28-yard touchdown. Great to see.
Well, that's the thing with the tight end position, too. As long as they score, they're probably going to end as the top 5 tight end or have a good shot, too. So, you know, he obviously ended up with almost double-digit fantasy points on one catch and a touchdown. Or no, yeah, he would have been just shy. But still, that kind of shows you, like, how bad the tight end landscape can be. You know, the Bills, I kind of thought that was a fat spread, but also I didn't even realize, you know, like after we recorded and stuff, like going into this, the Bills had run the least amount of plays in the league, and they were like one of the slowest paced teams, and the Saints were the fastest paced team. So it seems like the fact that it played the more of the Bills game strip, and you see like plays ran, like it was like the least amount of attempts Rattlers had all season by far, help them end up covering in this game. But still, I'd like to see them move on to Shuck soon, see if he's got anything, let him shuck it around a little bit, see what they got in him, you know?
Yeah, what are they waiting for, man? You're 0-4. I think now's the time. You got the Giants coming up. I think, you know, that's an opportunity that they should get Shuck in there and get him ready, especially because it's Jackson Dart's second career start. You know, it seems like an opportunity that they should get him in there, and they're at home.
Yeah, and
so
they can flex at the prime time too. 2 rookies going at it.
I don't think they're going to do that, but, you know, I wouldn't be opposed. And also, I got a lot of Dalton Kincaid late in best ball drafts because I punted tight end, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing there from him.
Yeah, so far that's seeming like it's a nice value. That was the thing, too. It was like, is it worth taking Bowers and McBride early? And so far it has not been. Neither guy has been like even pulling away with that, you know, where in the past they've been like so like there's been a nice like jump up and gap, but like Bauer and Kittle's obviously hurt, which still goes to the point too where it's like if you took one of those guys early, you're actually those guys are probably near the bottom of the leagues because the guys who are taking tight ends late and capitalizing on the value of the running backs, receivers, there maybe some of the quarterbacks as well, you know, you'll see some discrepancy.
It's a great point. Moving on here, the Lions just beat the shit out of the Browns 34-10. They improved to 3-1 after a very poor start in week 1. 3 wins in a row for Detroit. Cleveland drops to 1-3. 34-10 is not ideal. You know, they're on the road at Detroit. Tough atmosphere. Tough to beat that team on that turf. Gibbs, 15 for 91, a touchdown. And we touched on Montgomery earlier. Poor game, only 12 rushing yards. It was the Amon-Ra St. Brown show. 7 for 70 and 2 touchdowns. He's been an absolute animal to start the season.
6 touchdowns already? Holy shit.
I do want to touch on Jameson Williams here. Only 2 for 40, right? He had over 200 air yards. They just didn't convert. He had 8 targets. What is your concern level for Jameson Williams, and how confident are you starting him week in and week out?
My concern level for him is minimal because I think that's just what Jameson Williams is. We kind of knew like he's always been a boom or bust guy. Like when you draft him, you're not drafting him to be Mr. Consistent. Like this is a part of the cards where you know this is going to happen in weeks. There's going to be times also where it's like the teams, everything's flowing, they're running first, all that stuff. So it's just one of those weeks where it didn't pan out. And then next week he might go 4 for 150 and 2. And you're like, hell yeah. You know, when you talked about the air yards, like the deep shots are always there. It's just a matter of, you know, do they connect? Are there penalties? That kind of stuff. So that's just to me the Jameson Williams experience. And hopefully you're in a spot where you're not relying on him to be a consistent guy in your lineup and more of a boom guy in your lineup.
I agree 100%. On the Browns side, Flacco, not ideal. Completion percentage below 50, had 2 picks. I mean, you're thinking at 1-3, at what point do you go to Dylan Gabriel? I'm definitely thinking about that. And it's interesting to me because you could see in this game in particular, the youth movement that the Browns are working with here, where Quinshon Judkins, who missed all of camp in week 1, gets 21 carries compared to Jerome Ford 1 and Dylan Sampson, another rookie, 1. You have Harold Fannin, the rookie tight end, getting the same amount of carries with 1. You have Harold Fannin, who's been heavily involved in the passing game thus far. And then Isaiah Bond, who they added late, who didn't get drafted because of off-the-field problems. He's their leading receiver.
He would have been drafted.
100% he would have been drafted. 3 for 58, their leading receiver. And I look at this and I'm like, you know what, man? Say what you want about the Browns. Obviously, they're not a team that's going to make the playoffs, but at least they're giving their young bucks the run here. Like, you're getting a ton of Judkins, a ton of Fannin, and now we're seeing Isaiah Bond in there. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Dylan Gabriel, probably within the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and what that tells me, too, is, like, if Bond's in your dynasty leagues, which, you know, the other two are definitely not on waivers, but if Bond is on waivers in dynasty leagues, go pick him up. And maybe in redraft, I'm not saying you have to pick him up yet, but if you have a deeper bench, he might be a stash candidate if they're really trying to involve him because, you know, Judy to me and Tillman seem like guys, and even Njoku, like those three all seem like guys that could be moved at the deadline.
Yeah, 100%.
So
100%, man. I mean, it's better than what the Pats are doing. I like to see the youth movement here. You know, follow what the Browns, the Giants are doing, man. Get the young bucks in the fucking game.
I
Give them
can't
the ball.
question the Pats too much because what they were doing
I know.
kind of worked out well this week.
Oh, I'm so mad because I went on my rant last week, and I really thought Henderson was going to get a bigger run. That's actually the next game on the docket. The Pats 42-13 over the Panthers.
Yeah.
They improved to 2-2. The Panthers dropped to 1-3. Completely different outcome from last week where they shut down Atlanta and their offense was humming. You know, we'll start with Carolina here. Young did not look great, only threw for 150 and a touchdown. You know, running game wasn't necessarily there. Like, Hubbard was all right. You know, Tet McMillan, 4 for 62. You know, just really, they weren't able to get anything going offensively, and their defense just got exposed by a Patriots offense.
It was like
not been
on the first drive too.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what was
they
going
scored.
on
They
here.
were up 6-0 early and had like an 80-yard first drive, and that was it. That offense just like fell apart after that. It was like the scripted first drive was perfect, then after that, like they couldn't get anything going till garbage time.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because you look at the stat sheet and you're like, how the fuck did the Patriots hang 42 when May only threw the ball 17 times for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns? Their leading rusher was Stevenson, 9 for 38. You have Henderson scoring, Gibson scoring, and Drake May scoring on the ground. I mean, at least Stephon Diggs showed up for this offense finally, 6 for 101. Did you see he said after the game his comfort level is like a 5 out of 10 right now in the offense? And, you know, Vrabel said this morning, he's like, yeah, I'm going to have to talk to Stephon. Like, we got to get going here. It's not to be 5 out of 10. We're going to week 5. We got to be 10 out of 10. So I think Stephon Diggs might have got himself in the doghouse there a little bit with Vrabel with that comment. But I know you're very high on Diggs, so your thoughts on him finally clearing that century mark in a Patriots uniform?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on that are I'm very excited about that because, you know, he was a value in fantasy drafts. Like, you didn't have to pay a high premium, and it's like, okay, they're starting to get this relationship established because, you know, so far Hunter Henry has been the number one fantasy tight end right now. Perks of having a 2-touchdown week prior and a touchdown this past week.
Yeah.
But, you know, if Diggs is on your waiver wires, which he could be because he's had 3 really bad games to start out the year, pick him up. I mean, if he's not, no worries. Like, if you have him on your team, like, this is a good sign because then maybe you can play him because bye weeks are coming up and you're going to need a guy that is getting a heavy target share. And, you know, right now on the New England offense, is a pretty gross wide receiver room overall.
100%. Moving on here. The Eagles remain undefeated. I believe they've won 20 of their last 21 games or something crazy like that, which is just insane, man. It's just so hard to do in the NFL. 31-25 win over the Bucs. Jalen Hurts, 130, 2 touchdowns, both to Dallas Goedert. Big game for him. Barkley still somewhat getting bottled up, man. 19 for 43 and a touchdown. Obviously, you have to start him every week. And the Bucs, we know this, so hard to run the football on.
That doesn't concern me, honestly, him getting bottled up against them.
No, but it's been 4 weeks where he hasn't gone over 100 yards. And, you know, last year at this time, he was averaging 130 yards per game through 4 weeks. Not having that same success right now. I know Jordan Mailata was talking about it. He kind of blamed the offensive line where he's like, every play there's one guy just not holding their block for another second. And that's the outcome there where you're not giving Barkley that ability crib one and break off a long run. So, if you're a Saquon fantasy holder, don't panic yet. Come on, this Eagles team is going to be very good. They're still not lighting it up through the air, and they're still winning games. So they're going to be, when they start to figure it out, they're going to be winning a lot of games late, and Barkley's going to take over like he did last year, I'd imagine. I know A.J. Brown's not happy, 2 for 7 in this one. Posted a little bit of a cryptic post on social media after.
What that was.
I don't know. I'm not very good at reading between the lines, buddy. Do you have any idea what that was?
No. I have no idea. I don't know.
How concerned are you with A.J. Brown? I mean, if I have him in fantasy, you took him in the second round, I'm very concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I would have tried to trade him last week, honestly, after the big performance. I want no Eagles players like Hurts and Saquon, obviously, and Goddard's fine. We've talked about the tight end position and how it, so versatile. But yeah, I want no part of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith right now. I would definitely be selling. I mean, you're going to be probably selling low, but I would try to get off of that because it's just going to be weeks where they can win without needing that at all. And that's clear. They don't need them every week to win. They can play their ground and pound style. I kind of thought the Eagles were going to kill the Bucs in this game because the Bucs have so many injuries right now. So, and even the scoreboard makes it look a lot closer than it really was. But this was just Philly domination. And, Tampa Bay, I talked about it. Like, you can get away when you're injured against the bad teams like the Jets, but you ain't beating the Super Bowl champs with all those injuries, especially on that offensive line. It just doesn't happen. Good teams don't lose games that they're not supposed to.
I know, man. I mean, the saving grace here was for fantasy purposes. Like, Baker started to throw the ball around the yard a little bit in a comeback effort, almost hitting 300 yards, 2 touchdowns a pick. I know Bucky lost a fumble, not ideal, but he still had 63 in the ground.
Touchdown. Although they did say today, which I guess we didn't talk about before because we don't really know anything, but Bucky's getting an MRI, so we'll see if that's, what's going on there. Because I know he got banged up in the game, but, played through it. So definitely if, like, White's out there in your leagues, which he's probably not, but Sean Tucker probably will be out there, scoop those guys up.
Yeah, I just hate Rachaad White, but, like, if you have the lead back in the Tampa Bay offense, you got to play him no matter what. He's one of the most inefficient runners in the league, had 6 for 17 in this one. Not that that's, a large sample size by any stretch, but when he was the full-time starter, this team could not run the ball, and we saw that turn last year with Bucky Irving, who, yes, did have 5 for 102 and a touchdown on a 72-yarder, which was pretty sweet, and hit one of my felt 5, so that was kind of cool. And then Emeka Egbuka, my guy, I love Emeka Egbuka so much. 4 for 101, the 77-yard touchdown for Big Dogs. That was the big leg, man. That was like plus 190. That was the big leg.
Yeah, that was the juice.
And get us live. So,
which it is kind of weird because, like, no Mike Evans. I know Godwin was back too, which is another thing too. Like, you kind of feel like while Godwin didn't do anything crazy, like, he kind of got rewarded because it sounded like he was going to come back like week 6 originally, week 7. So, like, you drafted him at a spot where, like, I think his ADP did not reflect him coming back in week 4. And not only that, like, you probably didn't start him in week 4, but you get that, like, dud game out of the way, like his, like, getting the cobwebs off. So next week he's going to be a smash play. And, like, it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds with all 3 of them,
That's a great point, Reagan, because although he only had 3 for 26, he had 10 targets. So did Egbuka, but Godwin had 10 targets, which is really a huge indicator for how involved he's going to be until Mike Evans gets back. But even when Evans gets back, like, those 3, I think, can coexist. Obviously not ideal with Egbuka or Godwin with Evans back, but, I mean, we've seen this Tampa Bay offense be high-powered, so, he's fine for now, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, not a ton to touch on in this game because we touched on a lot of it earlier, but Houston 26-0 win over Tennessee at home. They get their first win of the season, improved to 1-3. Tennessee's 0-4. And as Cam Ward said, keep it a buck. We ass right now. And yeah, Tennessee is ass right now. Cam Ward, 10 of 26, 108 and a pick. That is an ugly, ugly game stat log right there.
Yeah.
I mean, poor guy. I mean, I don't know what's going on. That offensive line is not great. I know this Tennessee defense is legit, but they've been struggling all season.
Yeah, no crap. They've been struggling. When your offense puts up 0 points, it's kind of hard where, they can't get anything going. Like, it's just like these defenses that are good, like, they end up cracking because they're just constantly on the field and they can't be, immaculate all the times. It's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. But I mean, for Houston, it's hard to still gauge them because like Tennessee's so bad. So I'm not really fully sure if I'm going to sit here and say like Houston's back. It's a good win. Next week against Baltimore will be a very telling tale about both teams. Like if the Ravens lose that, then maybe they're in big time trouble. And if Houston wins that, then it's like, all right, like just a slow start, the offense is going now. So that's a game I'm really looking at next week where either of those teams go to 1-4. It's going to be tough to figure it out. And they're going to be in a similar spot to what the Bengals were last year, where you're hunting the whole entire season and you need breaks to go your way. Ultimately, it did not go their way at the end of the year because of losing a lot of games early on. So it's going to be very important next week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know we touched on Woody Marks earlier in the pod and how good he looked. Nico Collins, 4 for 79. That's pretty solid. Shout out Jaden Higgins. Not the best start to the season at all. I'm going to drop him in my redraft league, unfortunately. He did finally catch his first touchdown here. The only problem is, it was 24 yards, which is kind of sick, but it was his only target of the game. And for a guy that we thought was going to step into that number 2 role out the gate and be involved.
It was wide open.
We've seen, Stephon Diggs had a good 8-week stretch last year before the injury. We've seen Tank Dell be really good. And to not have Higgins establish himself, given where they took him in the second round, has been very disappointing.
Is Tank Dell out for the year, by the way?
I don't know if it's confirmed he's out for the year, but I would imagine
because if he's not and is going to come back this year, like, you might want to throw him on your IR. I don't know, but if he does come back this year or is like projected to have a chance to, you might want to throw him on his IR because that wide receiver 2 role is wide open. Kirk hasn't, like, none of those guys are grabbing it, and taking it over. Even Schultz isn't really taking it over. The offense is terrible. I mean, right now the only guys you really want are Nico Collins. I mean, right now you still want to have Chubb on your team, but like, it's ugly. It's really ugly. I don't know. We'll see. Next week will be very telling.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on here. The Rams put that first loss to the Colts, 27-20. It was a barn burner. The Colts had a chance to win this game, man. It really, I mean, I don't mean to pile on AD Mitchell here, but what the fuck are you doing? Trying to celebrate to like put the ball over the goal line, and he loses control right before. Rolls out the back of the end zone.
Was that what he was doing? He was celebrating? I thought he just like pulled the Jonathan Taylor where he just dropped it.
No, it looked like he had it in one hand and or both, and he was going to like put it in one hand and like stick it over, but it was not necessary because you could have just kept it cradled and just ran across the fucking goal line and scored. I don't know, man. I don't know what he was trying to do, but it was a 75-yarder, would have been a touchdown, would have been huge. And it was honestly a sick play. Like, the spin move he put on that corner was disgusting. And it's like, that's why AD Mitchell gets a lot of praise. Like, this is the talent that we've been expecting to see. And he makes a boneheaded play like that, and it leads to a Colts loss inadvertently. Tyler Warren did his thing, 5 for 70. Also had a rushing touchdown, which we were waiting on that from Tyler Warren. Did a lot of that at Penn State. Daniel Jones played pretty well. I mean, he had 2 picks, which is not ideal. 2 for 262 and a touchdown. JT, pretty solid day in the ground. No touchdowns for him, though, and he's been an absolute animal. For the Rams, I mean, vintage Stafford here, 375, 3 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, career high, $170, which is crazy. I saw that. I was like, I feel like Puka's done that before because he's always up like around the 150 mark. Guy's an animal, 13 catches. Yeah. Of course, the touchdown late with like 2.5, 3 minutes left for big dogs to keep us alive to the night game. That was sick. Seeing him at even odds, I was like, brother, he gets double-digit targets every week. I mean, I just love the odds here. He's Puka Nacua. Adams scored earlier, and I was like kicking myself a little bit, And then Tutu Atwell, I think it was his first catch of the season, 88-yarder for a touchdown. Massive down the stretch. Big win for the Rams at home. For the Colts, I mean, look, if you go toe-to-toe with the Rams, who have only lost to the Eagles, it feels like in the last 2, calendar year, right? You go on the road to LA and you lose like that, where it takes a boneheaded play from Mitchell, and you're right there. It's not a bad loss, man. It's really not.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're really... Yes! The wheel!
The wheel!
Oh, he fumbled it. No way he fumbled it. Damn it. Now he's in the doghouse.
Oh, Braylon Allen, what the fuck?
I thought he got in, bro. I thought he got in. Oh my gosh.
What odds did you get on Allen?
plus 1,300.
Oh my God, that would have been huge for the wheel, and he fucking fumbled.
He was so close to getting in, bro, because he technically did get in, but he punched it out right before he got in.
Yeah, that's a clean fumble. Yeah. Fuck,
wow,
dude.
that video's going to be trending now for sure.
Oh,
dude.
my God.
And now he's going to be in the doghouse, and now it won't hit. That is terrible beat. Terrible beat. All right, where were we, bro?
Heartbreaker. I was just saying, this is not a bad loss for the Colts.
No, it's not a bad loss for the Colts. I mean, they're still 3-1 at this point, and I truly think that Mitchell fumble is where that game turned. Like, I think, you score there, you're probably looking at a 4-0 team right now. That's really where everything turned.
Yeah,
so, and the Rams are just the Rams are sick. And if you took Puka Nacua late in your first round draft, like, you're being rewarded right now. Like, he is clear cut number one fantasy player right now. Like, I was checking today, he's the favorite to win Offensive Player of the Year. Like, as long as Stafford's healthy, he is going to be a beast.
Mm-hmm. And it's crazy because it's like, yeah, Devontae Adams is still having a good season as well. But it doesn't matter that you add that elite weapon next to him because he's that good. Like, I think he's clear-cut wide receiver 1 right now. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown's had a phenomenal start to the season as well. But just the way this offense operates compares to Detroit, you got to go with Puka Nacua as the number 1 receiver for the rest of the season in fantasy.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, too, like, I have a fantasy team where I have Puka, Devontae Adams, and Kyren Williams, and I start all 3 of them, and it's like, how is that going to work? It's working out fine. Like, they are all so relevant for fantasy. Like, every week it seems like they get in, and that's the nice thing. That's the one offense where, like, they literally only utilize 3 players, and that is it. Like, who else is actually utilized? I guess the Eagles are similar, but, like with Saquon and the 2 receivers and stuff, but, like, still Hurts snakes a lot. Like, Stafford's never snaking anything in the running game, so, like, it's literally those 3, and that's it. So no other Ram is startable.
It is,
Stafford, but
it is funny, man. It's working out for you well right now. All right, man, let's move on here. The Jags. How about the Jags? 26-21 over the Niners. The 3-1 Jags. We were high in the Jags going into this season, Reagan. I just thought it would happen a different way, where the offense would be cooking with Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter, where it's actually been the defense taking care of business with that front. And ETN, another good game, 124 and a touchdown here. Lawrence, not great, 174, a touchdown at least. He didn't get sacked, and he didn't throw a pick, which is great. Brian Thomas, 5 for 49. I guess that's a little bit better than what we've had. Travis Hunter, 3 for 42. I guess he's still got to stay on your bench right now. He didn't really play a lot of defensive snaps either, which was interesting. For the Niners here, a return of Brock Purdy, had 2 picks, 3 for 309 and 2 touchdowns. So, somewhat good, bad. McCaffrey could not get much going on the ground here, but was an animal through the air, 6 for 92 and a touchdown. Jake Tongs, the tight end now, instead of George Kittle, 3 for 58 and a touchdown. Pretty nice to see. The rest of the offense didn't really do much for San Francisco. Not gonna lie, and they had 2 fumbles, which definitely hurts. So when you turn the ball over 4 times, not ideal, not a recipe for success. But I'm surprised the Niners lost one at home, man. I really am. Your thoughts on this game and the Jags? Should they be the favorite to win the AFC South?
I still like the Colts a little bit better right now from what I've seen. Like, Trevor Lawrence still has not proven to me that, like, he can do this all season. Like, I don't have a lot of confidence in him right now, but the Jaguars defense is very good. Like, they're looking, they played great against Houston last week, great against the 49ers again. So I actually have more confidence in the defense right now. On the San Francisco side of things, I think they were just due with all the injuries and tight games for a loss, but I still have confidence in them. I mean, McCaffrey's sick, just a volume beast for fantasy, but, like, the 49ers will be coming in soon. I know, like, Pearsall, I believe, ended up leaving the game or got banged up as well. So just a team dealing with a lot of injuries, but getting back Purdy's huge. But I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. But both teams are 3-1. Both teams are right in the thick of things in their division race.
Yeah, I know Purdy, his toe is bothering him after the game. So slight concern there that he might not be able to go for week 5.
Yeah. I'm honestly surprised that he played. I thought they were going to roll with Mac Jones again.
Yeah, I mean, he pushed it. It might not have been the best decision, because you're close to getting Kittle back. It's like you could have almost had that full lineup back ready to go on the offensive side of the ball. Now it's like, shit, did we just screw over Brock Purdy? He's going to miss more time. Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, no, definitely hope not.
All right, next one, the Chiefs. Wow, what a performance. 37-20 over the Ravens. They really just controlled this game and just beat the brakes out of Baltimore. They improved to 2-2. Baltimore 1-3. We touched a lot on Baltimore earlier and how concerned we are. Derrick Henry 8 for 42. Not a big game from him. It was actually Justice Hill 3 for 76 and a 71-yard touchdown, which kind of sparked this offense a little bit. And he had 41 and a touchdown in the air as well. Of course, I'm going against Justice Hill in an eliminator best ball league, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding
I had him
me.
in a couple
I'm
underdog
going
leagues,
against
and I was like,
Justice
let's
Hill.
go.
Oh my God, just brutal. Lamar didn't look great. 147, a touchdown, a pick, 6 for 48 in the ground. Some people are speculating he didn't really look healthy, and has he been healthy? And like obviously lost a fumble as well. Now he's out with the hamstring we talked about earlier. Not ideal for the Chiefs though. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, Derrick Henry right now has me nervous. I'm pretty nervous with him right now.
Yeah, I mean, he had one monster game against Buffalo, and then it's been, not very good. He's not giving you any PPR points, so
I have him in fantasy. I think I'm gonna wait until his next big game and then probably try to trade him. I'm kind of like nervous with him long term because that first game was Dynasty? Great, but
Dynasty
no redraft.
Redraft league. So you're concerned like for this season, not even like I might need
to
get out now.
For this season. No, I'm concerned for he doesn't look. He just doesn't look as good, and I feel like the way the Ravens are going this year, like they're going to be in a lot of shootouts, which does not bode well for him.
That is true, man. When your defense allowing the most points in the league, how much can you rely upon a running back that's let's get under center and just pound the rock 20 to 25 times a game? If you're in these shootouts, it's not ideal. On the Chiefs side of things here, I mean, you saw how important Xavier Worthy is for this offense. Really opened it up. Had 2 carries for 38 and 5 receptions for 83. So already back in the fold here, going for over 130 all-purpose yards. The touchdowns were scattered as they usually are with this team. Thornton, Pacheco, Juju, Brown. I mean, you got to look at this backfield split, though, in terms of carries, because I know we've talked a lot about this backfield and how we can't start anybody. And it was a very similar thing here. Pacheco, 7 for 35. Kareem Hunt, 13 for 34. Brashard Smith, 4 for 9. This run offense is ass, but when you have Patrick Mahomes to go for 270 and 4 touchdowns, you could survive. But I don't know, man. It's still a backfield that I'm staying completely away from. I don't know if anyone's going to establish themselves here. Maybe if a back's available at the deadline and aging back like an Alvin Kamara, that could be a move the Chiefs make. But I think getting Worthy back, and hey, you're only 2 weeks away from, Rashee Rice is going to miss only 2 more games. You're almost back to having that full arsenal out wide for the Chiefs. So this was a massive win for them at home.
Yeah, it was a massive win, and Mahomes looked great. I mean, getting Worthy back was massive. I mean, you saw right away like how big of an impact he had in the receiving game. Like you saw, hey, Mahomes has actually got another one. So I think for the Chiefs, like I'm not going to say their offense is fully back yet. I need to see it more, but it's definitely a positive sign going forward. And Mahomes for fantasy too seems like he's, if you drafted him in that like 7th, 8th round, like he's returning on value so far. He's been great for fantasy with the rushing ability. And, now I think that's 3 out of the 4 games now over 20 fantasy points. So loving what I'm seeing from him.
Yeah, dude, Mahomes has been, that's why I was totally fine taking him in that like 80 range. Cause I was like, he is still Patrick Mahomes, like it's still late enough for me where I could take him. Got him in a lot of best ball leagues. And yeah, even without his full arsenal, he's been very damn good. Yeah, I don't know if this still holds. I know he was leading all quarterbacks in rushing going into week 4, which who would have had that in their bingo card?
Yeah, not me.
All right, let's move on. The Bears, 25-24 win over the Raiders. Blocking a field goal, just a crazy, crazy game here. Bears are now 2-2, and it's looking a lot better for them after a slow start. The Raiders dropped to 1-3. Caleb Williams, nothing special, but 212, touchdown and a pick. Only got sacked 1 time. For me, that's the most important stat out of all is, he's trying to avoid those sacks more, getting the ball out quicker. He really seems like he's coming into his own under Ben Johnson. The run game,
Yeah.
not really that good. Swift only 38 yards. He did have a touchdown. Romeo Doubs scored again. This guy's just an animal. So
Yeah.
the Shane Waldron theory is definitely a thing. He had 4 for 69, a touchdown here. One thing I want to bring up with you, DJ Moore, 4 for 38. How concerned are you with DJ Moore, and do you think he's potentially a guy that could be traded at the deadline?
I'm not super concerned about him. I definitely think there's a chance he's traded at the deadline, but it really depends where Chicago's out. Because if they're like, in the playoff hunt, like you're not going to trade away like a good receiver. Although that also could speak to the fact that like, hey, you spent the second round pick on Luther Burden. Like I know they like Zacchaeus a lot, so if the value's right, like maybe they do it. I don't know. It just to me, like if they're expecting to be in a good spot where they're winning games and fighting for that division potentially, do you really want to trade away DJ Moore? Like that's not really a win now type move. So that's the only weird thing because I do think Chicago is going to win a lot more games. I think they're starting to figure it out. Like to me, they should be 3-1 right now. Like they should not have lost to Minnesota week 1. They kind of blew that game. Still a 2-2. I'm sure they're not feeling bad. And the past 2 weeks, like they've looked great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Bears are heading into their bye week. Coming out of the bye, week 6, would you start DJ Moore in fantasy? His best performance is 12.8 fantasy points thus far this season. I'm not starting him. He's on my bench. But coming out of bye, you still have confidence in him as a player. Like, would you roll with him or not? Because I personally wouldn't.
I will. I'll roll with him after the bye. As a flex, and also knowing the fact that there are going to be a lot of bye weeks coming up, and at the end of the day, like he's a very talented receiver that has a big contract in an offense that like. Any given week, like he could take one of the house, but also like the Bears still have not a great defense. Like they're going to be in plenty of shootouts. So, knowing that fact that there's going to be a lot of shootouts, like I'll still play him, but I'm definitely getting worried with everything.
On the Raiders side here, Geno Smith had 3 picks. Obviously, that's disgusting. Only threw for 117. It was the Genty show. Two receptions for 2 touchdowns. And had 21 for 138 and a touchdown. 3 touchdowns for Genty. That's why you drafted him late first, early second. Mostert had a pretty big run, but obviously not super involved. Bowers, leading receiver, 5 for 46. They didn't really have to do much through the air the way Genty was rolling, but unfortunately, he did fumble. He did lose one. That sucks. You get a field goal blocked. Just a really tough loss for the Raiders, which this is one that they're going to look back and be like, damn, we should have got that one at home.
They are going to look back at that and want to get that back at home. And the weird thing with Geno is, too, it's like they don't have anyone else on the roster. Like, you're not going to turn to Kenny Pickett. You know what he is. But it's like I feel like the way it's going, like, he's not going to be on the – like, they're going to have a new quarterback next year. Like, if they keep losing games like this and he's heavy with the turnovers because it's – what did you say? He had 3 picks? Because I know against L.A. he threw a lot of picks. So he's turning the ball over at a very high clip right now. So – definitely doesn't make you confident as a Raiders fan, but also like coming into this year, this is about building up the culture, but it definitely makes you think they're going to draft someone next year, right?
Yeah, and they've been sniffing around the quarterbacks in the draft the past 2 years, So I know they were heavily involved in thinking about McCarthy or Penix last year. This year just wasn't the class for it. I think they're certainly going to draft a quarterback in 2026. The question becomes, if they're that bad, is Pete Carroll the guy you want mentoring him? They gave him a 3-year deal. I believe Pete's still going to be there, but it is an interesting question where a 73, 74-year-old coach with a rookie quarterback, is that the recipe for success long-term?
Yeah, probably not, but you never know. The guy's won Super Bowls, so got to give him his flowers.
He does have Chip Kelly there. Aspect. Maybe Chip Kelly's waiting in the wings to become the head coach. You know what I mean? Maybe that's something they've talked about. And hey, Chip Kelly did a great job at Ohio State. I know it's been a while since he's been a successful head coach, but he has a great offensive mind. So maybe that's their game plan, and you're okay taking a quarterback with Pete Carroll still in charge. All right, one last game on the docket. We got the Packers, the Cowboys, and they tied. Scorigami 40-40. What the fuck here? What a crazy game. Jordan Love. Yeah, it was a fun one to watch. Jordan Love threw for 337 and 3 touchdowns, cashing Drock's locks. Good shit, Drock. Only got sacked 1 time. Of course, this Cowboys pass rush has been brutal to start the season. Jacobs, 22 for 86, 2 touchdowns on the ground, added 4 for 71 through the air. Just a monster performance from him. And Romeo Doubs with 3 touchdowns. They kept getting the 1 in the first half. They ran 2 slants to Doubs from the 1. And we're sitting here like, what the hell, man? Give the ball to Jacobs. They're on the 1-yard line. Like,
why don't more teams run that? Honestly, like they're doing it with Romeo Doubs. Like I'm surprised, like some of the, like why these other teams who have like the best receivers in the leagues aren't doing this. Like Romeo Doubs is just a one-on-one beast.
Yeah, dude,
in the
he's
red
a
zone.
fucking animal, man. I mean, it was crazy. I went against him in the
He's done
Eliminator League as well. It's like,
he's done it before too. Like who'd they play earlier in the year on I forget who they played on. Who'd they play when Tucker Kraft balled out? Like in week 2. Because I remember he was the first touchdown in that on the same exact type of play. And I was like, damn, bro. Like, they literally did it the same exact thing. Because when Doubs did it last night, I'm like, damn it. He literally scored in the same exact way.
Who was it, man? It's bothering me. It wasn't Chicago.
Minnesota?
It was Washington.
Washington. That's who it was.
Yep.
Yeah. And they did that same exact play that worked out. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. Tucker Kraft had a good game, too, 5 for 56. Golden had a 46-yard catch, so you love to see that. He did get absolutely rocked on that punt when he had that spin move. That was not smart. I don't think he's ever going to do that again. And then for the Cowboys here, you know what? I got to really just tip my cap to Dak Prescott. I mean, that throw he made down the sideline in overtime was just ridiculous. Throwing for 319 and 3 touchdowns against his Packers defense.
Wow, Darren Waller, first touchdown.
Darren Waller, first touchdown. God damn it. That old man, that's terrible. For Dak Prescott to do that without CeeDee Lamb is very impressive against this defense. Pickens, 8 for 134, 2 touchdowns, just an animal. Ferguson, 7 for 40 and a touchdown. Javonte Williams, 20 for 85 and a touchdown. I mean, maybe he is back to his form. I mean, I don't know, but he's looking pretty good thus far. I mean, obviously for the Cowboys, their offense is not the concern. This defense is a major, major concern.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. The pass rush isn't there. The corners are all banged up and injured. I mean, they can't stop a nosebleed right now. You know, if you have Dak Prescott in fantasy and some of these wide receivers and running backs, like offense players, you love it. But the defensive side of things, like it's going to be tough for Dallas to really compete going down the stretch because they just can't get any stops on defense. And you're asking so much out of your offense. For Green Bay, this actually does make me worried about them a little. That's now 2 weeks in a row where like you couldn't take care of business. And if you truly want to be considered a Super Bowl team and have a chance to win a Super Bowl, like you got to beat the Cleveland Browns. You got to go into Dallas as like a heavy favorite and take care of business. Like, and they were. You know, you were up 13-0. The kick gets blocked. It's 13-2, and you let Dallas come back. So the defense has got to be better on the Packers side of things.
I know they gave Micah Parsons that sack, and Dak was like, really? They gave that to him as a sack? Like, fine, he could have it. I know I was like, all right, I was going to take Parsons to get a sack. I was like, this is a lock. I mean, come on, primetime return. He was minus 200 is the line that I saw for him to get a sack, which was crazy. Yeah. So I didn't take it, but yeah, it was a fun game, 40-40. It's a tie, so it's going to be annoying seeing a tie involved in the playoff picture down the road, but it is what it is. That wraps up our Week 4 recap. Reagan, I know the Jets are on right now, down 10-0. Not ideal, but let's go root on your boys. Get a W for the Jets. Drop a like, drop a comment, drop a sub. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in for Around the Felt. We'll catch you soon later this week for Week 5.